We're talking a little NBA Finals here, and I was a little bit surprised by this specific figure. I often look at sports stuff through the betting lens. I think it's in addition to being fun,
Degeneracy.
in addition to having fun gambling, I do think what the lines tell you or can tell you about probabilities and likelihoods and what the public thinks of those probabilities and likelihoods can be fascinating. And so I thought certainly that after the Pacers won last night at home to take a 2-1 lead, they've got the same number of games in both teams' buildings now the rest of the way. I was stunned that the Pacers are still not favorites to win the NBA Finals. At this point in time, irrelevant of the odds, if I said, Danny, you have to tell me right now who's going to lift the trophy, is it the Pacers or is it the Thunder? It's a really tough ask with them having one game in hand. At least I think.
My head says the Thunder. My heart says the Pacers. There's something about this Pacers team, and this is where you get into the intrinsic stuff of the math and the algorithms and everything that drives all this stuff. And it's all designed by people that are some of the brightest, literal brightest mathematicians on the planet. Like those palaces in the desert weren't made on guesses. Like they hire. I got the opportunity to meet a couple lines makers when I was at a sports book a couple years ago. They were all MIT.
Yeah, they're really smart individuals.
These are people who could go do literally anything in their field, but they make the most money making these lines and these algorithms and these probability charts for these casinos, because it makes these guys literally get paid millions of dollars to do this. And they work in a little black box that's about as classified and secret in the business world as military secrets. It's nuts, the stuff that goes into this. I said it multiple times. There's a real path for the Pacers to win this series coming into this series. I'm not switching up now like that. I do very much believe that. Looking at Friday's game, the Thunder are 5.5-point favorites again. It's the same line they had coming into last night's game.
Yep.
I don't know how you can not change the line. I really don't.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I don't. They keep showing us who they are, they being the Pacers, and it kind of feels like it doesn't have the ripple effect that you would have. And the reason I bring this up, and I mentioned through the betting lens, is that this morning, and depending on where you're looking at the odds, it's a little bit different, but you're essentially looking at a 2-1 ticket on the Pacers to lift the trophy and about minus 180 on the Thunder. So essentially, if I gave you $100 to put down and said, okay, do you want to put this down to win 50 on the Thunder or 200 on the Pacers? That's what the books are asking right now. And I'm surprised at that discrepancy.
I am too. And look, the reason is because the math over the longer haul.
Sure.
What the Thunder have done both offensively, defensively, limiting their own turnovers, forcing turnovers. Because like when you're talking about the math behind this, it's
when
not
you
just,
talk MIT guys, this is all baked into their algorithms.
And what they're factoring in is like the all of the variables that go into this. It's quite literally a math problem. And what they do is they devise formulas for generating turnovers and likelihood based on each individual player's metrics of like how successfully they either generate turnovers or convert turnovers into points. How many possessions will then turn out in a given game. They run these scenarios through, multiple, servers that are, pressing this stuff. It's like Christopher Nolan, the interstellar black hole. It was something like 100 computing hours necessary to process every single second of the black hole.
Okay.
Because it was rendered and done with as much realism as humanly possible. And now they have multiple servers that are running this, so it's computing hours. So it doesn't actually take 100 hours.
Yeah.
But that, like, when you're talking computing power, that's what it would have taken to process this kind of stuff. And it's the same kind of thing that goes into this. They run these simulations 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 times to be able to churn this stuff out in order to give you that's how you get those win probability scales. But those win probability scales have been thrown upside down, backwards, forwards, in every which way with the Pacers. Not once, not twice, not three, not four, but 5 times this year in just the playoffs. And the wrench that there becomes a certain point where like this team becomes a team of destiny, and it starts feeling.
And hasn't it already felt that way a lot for them?
This is like the longer, drawn out version of the U.S. versus the Soviets. This is the miracle on ice.
Sure.
This was not supposed to happen this way
at a number of turns.
And yet it keeps happening. At some point in time, you have to just kind of crumple up the data and go, what are the results?
Yeah.
And now Vegas doesn't make their money doing that.
No. And they will still stick by. I mean, they are so team agnostic. You can strip away the logos, strip away the cities, and strip away the personnel. They will look at the numbers and they will make it based on that. It's completely objective. Numbers I'm not sure that they are taking into account, because I'm not sure how you would put this in specifically. Do you know the last time the Pacers lost back-to-back games?
I'm going to say like February.
Close. March 8th and 10th. Yeah. So it's been months. I mean, for perspective, Oregon Ducks were still playing basketball March 8th and 10th. Like, this is a long-ass time ago. And the fact that, again, credit to Carlisle, when something goes wrong, they fix it, and they fix it quickly. If you're not going to undergo a streak of losses here, if you're not going to lose back-to-back, then they're going to win this thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, the stat that I mentioned, the Pacers have not trailed in a series yet.
Yep.
Like, that's got to be something that's taken into consideration. And you got to give Carlisle his credit, Halleburton, even though Hallie didn't have like the most electric game we've ever seen him have, his aggression last night was
late and he was clutch,
noticeably different.
Yep. Like, it was assertive.
My evaluation on Halleburton when he came out, I mentioned this early on in the playoffs. Coming into the draft, I go, the more tape I watch on him, the more I'm like, he's a more awkward right-handed Mike Conley.
Okay.
Always has control of the game. Is a good enough shooter, but can get to his spots whenever he wants.
But doesn't look orthodox getting there.
Exactly. And the other thing that stood out is his floater. And he used that floater so much last night. Every time he needed to make something happen, he gets in there, and his touch is immaculate. It is impeccable. He gets to his spots, and the defense collapses just enough, and he's like, you have to worry about him because of the jump passes, so the defense freezes for that split second.
Yeah.
He had that play on Case and Wallace with the pass fake.
Oh, that was so good.
Oh,
that was so good.
I mean, Case and Wallace turns the other way, like, and it just pulls the three like it's nothing.
I did that one time in an open gym in college, and I felt like a god.
Oh, you got to hit the shot.
Oh, that's the thing.
It's like if
you don't knock it down, it doesn't matter.
Now it's like, oh, like when you cross somebody over, you get them to fall down, you get a guy with a look off or something like that, you have to hit the shot. It. And that's the thing about Halleburton. Every time he seemingly needs to do the thing, he does it.
Yeah. That's why now his new nickname, The Moment. Have you seen that? Basketball Reference official? Hard to argue with. A couple other stats I wanted to throw your way that I just found interesting. Under the current 2-2-1-1-1 format, the lower seeded teams, in this case the Pacers, have yet to win in trailing a 2-1 deficit. So they would have to make history in order to do this.
3-1's the death nail.
Yes.
We've only won
one time.
One time. Your beloved Dubs fall on the backside of that. It doesn't happen in basketball.
Yeah,
like
it's really rare.
It's
the home team or the team that starts with the home advantage usually takes advantage of that.
Yeah, and I want to say it's something like if the home team goes up 1-0, it's something like 72%.
It might even. I wanted to say it was like 81. It might even, but it's way high.
Like if the home team 70s, wins game 1, it's like the math just says 3/4 plus. Basically.
And of course they didn't in this case.
And that's mark number 1. You steal home court and then you win at home again to take a 2-1 lead. Like when you get 2-1, you could just say, well, the OKC could come out there and do what they did in game 2 and run away with this and tie this up, and it reverses it all. It doesn't, because now if you get to that point, you're getting into we are now at a best of 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, and whoever gets to 2 first, basically, is that's going to be your winner.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. The other thing, and I don't know, I'd be curious about your take on this as well, and then we'll turn the page and move over to the U.S. Open real quick. But the Thunder, I saw after last night, are now 0-8 against the spread on the road this postseason. They have not covered, and granted, they've been big favorites in most of those road games, so it's just not necessarily winning by margin. But
they had a 14.5 point.
But that also tells you that they are not performing, at least to the algorithm expectations on the road.
Which is why you have to give, particularly in this case, the Pacers the credit, because the math says they're gonna do X, and the Pacers are not allowing them to do that.
And it hasn't gotten to that point yet. So now the question is, Can they make the shift? Does Diagonal have the chops to make their adjustments? And what does that look like? I mean, I'll be fascinated to see how the rest of this thing plays out because
It's not just a play better button.
no, it's not. It's not just to hit a couple more shots.
Mm-mm.
Like they're not. You mentioned earlier, they're not getting good looks.
No.
Like they're getting kind of shut down and beat at the game that they want to play.
Mhm.
And now they're facing an uphill climb. Until last night, I still wasn't. You gave the Pacers a chance. I still really hadn't, even though they'd shown it many times over. Now I feel like you have to take them seriously. And even though the betting line wouldn't suggest that they're the favorites, I'd be leaning towards betting them as the favorites at this point.